Hey everyone, Mike Clark here with Heidi Don, who's an estate plan attorney here in the Belleville, O'Fallon area. And just wanted to talk to you a little bit about estate planning in general. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, so let's say that Bob and Jan want to meet with you and want to create an estate plan. What does that process look like?
Right. So typically we, my office, we do a two-step process.
Mhm.
The first meeting is really information gathering and kind of finding out about the family dynamics. I always want to know, what's everybody's medical situation, and then I want to know every child. Tell me about all the kids, tell me about the grandkids. I want to know if anybody has any disabilities or special needs because we can plan for that in advance. And then I really jump into the assets.
Yeah.
And I just go from the real estate. I want to know, do you have timeshares? Do you have rental properties? Because people always forget about the timeshares, because it's something you only visit once or twice a year.
Yeah.
You pay the fees, but you don't always get there.
Exactly.
And I want to know if you have oil rights, mineral rights, because these are the things that are that we're going to have to deal with at the end of the day regardless. And then I give them this information in advance of the meeting and say, could you please fill this out and bring it with you, so we have a great starting point to talk. And then we go through bank accounts. How are they titled? We go through life insurance, long-term care insurance. Have you prepaid your funeral? Where are your IRAs? What's your 401k look like? And that sort of thing. And sometimes clients are getting RMDs already. They're at the 70 and a half. So we go through income. What are your sources of income? And typically, now my clients your age, 30s, 40s, 50s, they're not asking about long-term care and how to pay for a nursing home.
Right.
But many of my clients, then at the end of the day, we have the conversation, hey, how am I going to protect all this from the nursing home? So, because that's kind of what they kind of ask that as an afterthought. That's my elder law hat. But in general, the first appointment is really learning about their family and any unique situations with the children. I want to know, do they get along? Who doesn't get along? Who's the fly in the ointment kind of child?
The problem child.
Yeah, because that stuff will continue as as they age, and somebody calls in and asks, hey, I need to see mom's will. Nope, I'm so sorry, you don't, but I want to know what's going on, the dynamics of the family, and what's really on the forefront of their mind. And sometimes it is as simple as, hey, we need a will and powers of attorney. And then we review all of those assets, and then we go into the conversation about, do you want a will or a trust? Sometimes it's blatantly obvious which way. Or families come in, hey, my parents had a trust, they're both gone. That was such a smooth transition for us that I want to trust. I want to prep that now. So we go through the assets, we have that conversation. I really press them on, how are these assets titled? Is your life insurance have beneficiaries? And everybody's like, oh yeah, I put beneficiaries on that. And then they haven't revisited it in 10, 20, 30 years. So that's kind of day one. First appointment is going through the assets and really trying to find out how they're titled or who the beneficiaries are. And then I usually have the clients leave with a set of homework instructions so that they come back to you and they go call their insurance company and they figure out, yep, check. And then when we meet the second appointment, they can say, well, we've ordered the paperwork, we've talked to Mike, we've actually updated it, or we're going to after we create a trust. Because some people think they can fund the assets into trust before they sign the trust. So I always say, let's just figure out where we're at, and then an appointment 2, we'll talk about what's gonna go into the trust. I always assist with making sure the deeds get prepared for the real estate, whether it's in Illinois or if it's out of state. I work diligently with out-of-state attorneys to get those assets into trust because, as we discussed before, real estate, whether it's in Illinois or New Mexico or any place else, is going to trigger probate.
Okay, so that's a big one to monitor for triggering.
Big one,
okay.
Yeah, and that's an asset that I can really help continue to get, guide through the trust. They need to come to you to change their beneficiaries. You're going to want that face-to-face with them. And they're going to need to call the insurance company because most times those places don't want to chat with us attorneys. They want to hear from the client.
Right.
And so
I don't want to chat with me either. Typically.
Yeah. So I really like that first appointment. Let's get the lay of the land and the assets laid out and figure out where we need to go. And the second appointment is signing the documents. I try to go through the trust thoroughly. I know most people, this is something I do every day, just like you. So you tend to just kind of fly through things. So I really try to take my time. And even when I do, I assure them, please call me and when you walk out of here in 2 weeks and the dust has settled, because you're drinking from a fire hose.
Right.
When you're in my office, you're trying to hear everything. But I try to get them to leave with their handwritten notes of, this is my next steps. I give them a letter, kind of how in general you fund assets and how you go to the bank and retitle a bank account into trust. So we talk through every asset and where it's going to land after that trust is signed.
Yeah. So one thing I want to remind everyone is that Heidi and myself, we don't know anything about you. Nothing that she's discussed today or I've mentioned should be thought of as a recommendation of any kind for you. If you have any questions about estate planning in any way, shape, or form, please reach out to Heidi. We're going to give a link and her phone number along with this content. So thanks.